everybody, welcome. This is our judging video for Enterprise DNA Challenge number 23, and we've got a great judging panel here today. As always, we've got Federico Pastor, our king of challenges. We've got Dustin Schimek, who is known to many of you in the community as the founder of dataideas.com, which really focuses on kind of how you can apply analytics to real world problems and kind of coming up with areas in which analytics can really make a difference. And so I think he's a perfect judge for this challenge. Also is the co-host of the Data Career Summit, and that is going to be the second one coming up soon. So we'll maybe get a chance to talk a little bit about that at the end. And then we've got Greg Deckler, who is a 7-time Microsoft MVP, 4-time author of best-selling Power BI books, longtime partner with Enterprise DNA. Greg developed our tool set for external tools, has also developed a lot of content for us. So kind of a longtime friend of our site and program. So welcome, guys. Great to have you here today.
Thank you.
Great to be here. Thanks. Appreciate the honor of getting to judge the contest.
Thrilled to have you guys. So Federico, this was a big one. We had a record number of entries, and so do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you saw and kind of the overall look across the board on this one?
But before I start, I would like to say thank you to the judges. 2 years and a half ago, when I started, I used to look at you guys, Greg and Dustin and Brian, like wow, when I will be able not to have the same level, but maybe to be able to talk to them like we are doing today, and here I am today. So anyone in the same thinking that I had at that time, guys, just working, practicing, and doing a lot of Power BI, and one day you will be here sharing the same stage that these great people. So thank you very much. For me, it's an honor to share this stage with you. Something that I have dreamed for a long time, and here we are.
Thanks a lot. I'm not that big a deal, really.
You are total. You're the total deal.
Wow, thanks. I'm not sure anyone has ever said that to me before, but thank you. That's really amazing. Likewise, the feeling is mutual.
So we have. I remember starting the challenge. Somebody told me, Federico, 500 rows challenge, and I told them, how you look at the data inside that 500 rows, because it's exquisite. It's fantastic what you can get if you work out that data set. We started in the first week with 10 and another 10 and another 10 and 20 in a week and 30 in a week, 154 entries. It's our best total numbers. And I had count. We have more than 1,300 different measures, tooltips, navigation bars, buttons, an amazing range of visualization and work. Every report is different, how people approach the report, how people is now listening to the brief that we provide in the challenges. It's been more aware, and it has been a fantastic turnaround. So thank you to all participants. One thing that is very important is not about winning, it's about sharing, it's about your portfolio, it's about learning and practicing. Everybody knows me. I have done all the challenges. I don't normally win any challenge, but I am in all of them, and here I am today. So keep participating, keep playing. 154, our record. Thank you to all participants. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks. One thing I want to mention is I want to kind of put a disclaimer in here, which is that normally Federico and I do the kind of the initial screen through the reports. And at the beginning of this challenge, I was really captivated by this data set. And I told Federico I wanted to compete in this one. I just saw some real potential in this and wanted to kind of keep my skills sharp. And so he graciously agreed I could do that. So I stepped out of any judging role and stepped into the competition role. And so it wasn't until 5 minutes ago that I found out who the winners in each category were. So I just wanted to be clear in that I had no part in that judging process. So so with that, want to jump into the winning non-member, and I think Greg is going to start us off on that. And Federico, did you want to read through the nominations?
Yeah,
on
for the non-members, we have Manan Intodia, Philip Giroux, Pedro Toscano, Sergio Propergol, and Amar Hilmar. And the winner is Manan Intodia. I think Greg or Dustin, who is going to comment?
I think Greg's going to.
Yeah. So I something about this report, I really like this report. And I think it's a beautiful presentation. Normally I would find, I would say I maybe ding it for like it being busy. But it really, the way it's laid out, it's kind of busy in a good way. It presents a ton of information. It's very clear. One of the key things that I looked for in the reports was this kind of key insight that was, hey, intervention is better than usual care in terms of the improvement of the DLA metric in that. And I think this presents it really clearly. There's a ton of information on it, but it's some nice subtlety in terms of, I love the shading. I love the circle in the middle is actually meaningful, right? It's 29.8%, of cases were intervention versus 70.2. Just information presented in nice, subtle ways. This report really stood out to me. I don't know, Dustin, if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, I would agree with your assessment, Greg. And I think, just there was 3 criteria I was looking at really for each of these. And it was the attention. Did it grab my attention? Did it have kind of a wow factor? And the one thing, you kind of said it, but the one thing I'd probably ding it on a little bit was would have liked to see maybe a little bit more use of color just to grab the attention of the user. But I did think it was a nice layout. I thought it was very clear and intuitive, and that was my second criteria I was looking for was, okay, as a first pass, did it grab my attention? Got my attention. Then second, can I clearly see what I'm looking at here? Is it intuitive? And, can I pretty quickly understand what I'm looking at? Definitely passed that test. And then did it deliver the insights was the third criteria that I had. Did it deliver, the requirements of the brief? Could I glean the most important insight from the report? And this one definitely passed that. I mean, it was pretty clear. You look at the average percentage improvement, on the DLA score, that was a big insight. And I can see it pop between usual care and intervention kind of in the center here, center left and center right. It pops, the impact of intervention. So it passed that test as well. So I like this one too.
Fantastic. So congratulations, Manan, and congratulations to the runner-up, Amar and Sergio Propegol. We now go to the Brian.
To the first time participant. And so Federico, were you going to go through the nominees on this one?
Yes, the nominees are, I got Todd, what is he? Todd Fexio. I got Jessa Bromo, David Okenwat, Pankaj Namikar. The winner is Todd and Jessica. We are sharing prizes this time. It has been a very intense discussion on this one between Dustin and Greg. So we decided to be not grateful, to be honorable. Both of them deserve to be winners. And we are sharing the prize between Todd Fexio and Jessica Bromo. I think for sure. Dustin wanted.
Yeah, you want to pop Jessica's up there, Federico? I think
sure.
Dustin was going to start with hers.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely glad to speak to this one. So Federico mentioned the spirited discussion we had on these, and we thought that there was 2 good outcomes from that discussion. One was that we thought that, they were definitely, these 2 were worthy of sharing the prize here. We thought it was kind of a true tie. But then the other second thing was that we thought there was a good learning experience to be had here in terms of why there was a tie, and maybe more specifically why we weren't able to break the tie, and what someone could do to create something that could have broken the tie, and emerged as the winner. And so when you look at Jessica's, the thing that stood out to me, I mentioned the 3 criteria I'm looking at, and I'm really thinking about this. I've worked mostly on the front end of businesses and have been kind of the analytics person for the front end of the organization. So working mostly with, training leaders and executives on how to use dashboards, glean insight from them. And the thing with Jessica's that I did like was that it passed that first pass test that I had on, did it grab my attention? And it did. I kind of stopped in my tracks and looked at this one. There was something about the design, the color that grabbed my attention. It made me want to dig into it. There was that second criteria I had of, was it intuitive? Could I quickly glean, or could I quickly understand what was in it? And, it did pretty well with that one. I could pretty intuitively understand what she was laying out here. Where there was some room for improvement was, did it deliver the insight that really you wanted to leave, the executive or leader with? Did it leave with kind of that one thing that was their one takeaway? And that was, from our perspective, kind of the change in the daily living score, the DLA score. And that, wasn't clear what the tie was between intervention, versus usual care in terms of the impact on the DLA score. And so where that was very clear and where the insights were very clear in terms of what someone should be left with, were with the tying dashboard. If you want to bring that one back up, I can talk to that for a second. So if you want to flip it, yeah. And if you wouldn't mind going to the home screen, I think this was one of the deeper views. Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at this on mine as well. So for Todd's, we thought that the insights were really good that were delivered through this. So it was kind of like on that third criteria, the insight delivery was great. Like we were left with the absolute information that one would want to be left from with this. You see the percentage improvement after treatment called out very clearly there. And you can click through other parts of the report to get some really great deep insight. The only thing with this was that if we go back to those first couple criteria, the grabbing the attention, and then is it intuitive? In terms of grabbing the attention, from my perspective, it wasn't quite as high just because it was mostly text-based, a lot of decimal places, things like that. And then, was it intuitive? I think it would have been if the icons on the upper left there, if I had a better idea of, okay, if I click on those, where does it go? It wasn't. It was natural to some others that was what you had to do. It wasn't to me, and I think that there's a risk here that it might not be to that executive or leader that it's published out to. And so the reason why it didn't emerge as the winner is that you get one chance when you publish something out. If you don't have an hour to spend with someone training them on the dashboard, you've got one chance for them to get their attention and to let them dig into it and find the insight. And if something like not knowing that they need to navigate, to a certain area on the dashboard holds them back from getting to those important insights, then the great work that you did kind of gets buried. And I thought that was a risk point with this one, but both were great. We kind of had the stronger visual, the one that grabbed the attention, and the other one that had the great insight. Gosh, if we could put those two together, that's where you've got a winner emerging.
And I'm gonna agree with the user experience. You need to make sure your user understand what they can see, they are seeing on the screen. You cannot keep them guessing. So user experience is something that we are not actually applying properly to our report. Perhaps something that participants or report developer in general need to concentrate. If you put an icon, you need to tell me somehow what that icon does or what that icon tell me to, and that is very important. So I appreciate that feedback. Very great. It's great.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was gonna say I wanted to jump to Greg now because you had some particular things you wanted to call out on this one.
Well, yeah, so like if you click on the light bulb icon up there in the upper right, and this is actually different for each page that you're on. So if you're on now, if you click on over on the left-hand side, the top icon, right, then you click on the insights, right, you get different insights and then summary of analysis. it's great information. Obviously, a lot of technical work went into this, both from a statistics analysis. And then look, now click on see the bubble chart icon, on the bubble chart icon over on the upper, click on that. Oh, maybe it's going to come up. It should bring, yeah, here it is. It brings up a chloropleth graph. I mean, there's just some incredible things here, but back to Dustin's point, a lot of it's kind of hidden, and it's fantastic technical work. And I love the patient intake form. The last icon over there. I love that concept that, hey, with all this information, now I have a new patient coming here. What program should I put them in? What's going to be most effective for them? I thought that was a great addition too. But back to Brian, not the most visually appealing, report.
I think Dustin brought up something really, that there's such a simple fix on some of this, which is icons don't always speak for themselves. And kind of the way in which Power BI now gives you the ability to control your text with your icons on buttons, I think has been kind of a really underrated addition of the program. And I think that would have really helped here in terms of guiding the user to some of the more hidden features that are really, really outstanding pieces of analysis.
In my view, there needs to be from now on a guidance to the user. Before you get to the report, you are telling the user, if you do this, this is going to happen. If you go here, this is going to happen. And that is kind of compulsory. It should be there. I didn't know half of the stuff Greg had mentioned about this report was there. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So that is something that
right.
the user is missing if you don't let the user know about it. And at the end of the day, the user might be normal people. It's your boss, it's your manager. It's not a data scientist. It's not a data analyst. So we need to make it easy for them. And that is very, very important point that Dustin and Greg have brought up in this report.
And I definitely agree with Greg and others. The technical work here is amazing. Just want to make sure people get to see it.
Yeah, don't hide your best features.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Great point, guys. I think this really highlights, kind of at each end, lessons learned. And I think there's a lot to take away from this one. So we wanted to move into now the experts and previous winners category. And I think, Dustin, you were going to start off on this one.
Yes, for sure. So we did have a clear winner emerge in this category.
Federico, do you want to read the nominations?
Oh, yeah, sure. The nomination are Greg Fields, Paul Gerber, Sam McKay, Gustav and Brian. They team up are King Cooks. And the winner is Brian and Gustav.
Yes. And we promised, Brian didn't threaten us in any way or anything in the judging process here. This was totally objective, actually. And Greg and I were in consensus on this one and judged, independently prior to getting together here. So we thought that this was an amazing overall piece of work here. From my perspective, I go back to the three criteria I was looking at, the attention, wow factor. This one really grabbed my attention right away. I mean, I almost was anticipating when I first looked at this that it would be, gosh, this is going to be something where I can clearly get some insight out of. And as I started to look around at it, that was the case. It was very intuitive to navigate this and understand what I was looking at. It was very clear to see what the impact was on intervention versus usual care, and then broken out by, you see down at the bottom, the breakout by anxiety, depression, and so on. It was really nice overall. I think this is a great kind of model for how to put together a dashboard on this type of data set. And it really shined on that last criteria I had, which was, was it delivering the insights that we were looking for? When you take a look at the brief, did it meet the criteria? And I absolutely left with what I thought were the most important insights after looking at this, and was ready to draw my own conclusions and would be confident in speaking to, those conclusions to others just from merely looking at this dashboard.
Greg, would you like to say anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, no surprise, Brian did amazing statistical work on this, which again, I think sets this report apart from a lot of the other ones in terms of it. You can have a number come back, but is it meaningful? Is a meaningful difference, between like intervention and usual care, for example. And this, not only I love the bubble charts that, it breaks it down by, the diagnosis, it clearly shows better than just a number how much better intervention is than usual care. I think it's done really well. And then, you have, the statistics behind it that it's an actual, meaningful result. And then the fly out menu on the other, on the side, you can dig in deeper. So if you go there and then click on like diagnosis, the one, yeah, that right there, it's got, even more insights and information. I mean, it's obviously a lot of work was put into this, but also it's presented in a way that's really nice. And it kind of reminds me of Manon's entry in terms of kind of the subtlety of like the color scheme in that. But again, I think, to Dustin's point, versus Manon's, there is some color here, like the yellow dots, which call out, this is a meaningful result. I don't know. It's just really done well.
You get Brian brains and statistics, and then you have the monster of Gustav do the designing, and it's a winning competition. Who I will not even, if I know they are participating, I will not participate. There is no chance for me at all to make a win.
Oh, maybe there's a lesson learned there in terms of, hey, collaborate with others. That take your skill sets, take somebody else that has a different set of skills and push them together, man.
I told Brian, yeah, you can do this one, I will do next one, so you cannot participate, so I will win it myself. Hopefully.
I agree with that. Greg. I think Greg makes a good point at the end there too. If there's someone that's stronger from a design standpoint than you, and you're really good at working out all the technical details, by all means, get their input on it. And even if you're good at design, get a second opinion from someone that's good at design. Maybe there's, we go back to the last discussion we had where, gosh, if those icons would have just been a little bit clearer, that's a pretty small thing. And maybe just by sharing that with one other person and they point that out, now you go from a 8 or 9 out of 10 dashboard to a 10 out of 10 dashboard. And it's not that, it's not that big of a difference between the two to get there. So I think it's a good point to have someone else, that you collaborate with.
And we have King Cook. Let's see her report, because her report is beautiful. King is an excellent developer too. She has been participating in challenges for a while now, and every time she entered a challenge, she always at the top most of the time. Yeah. She is there fighting with the best. So
yeah, I really like this report. I mean, again, it's very clear the comparison between interventional and usual care. And I, if not for Brian's and Gustav's report, this would have been my top pick, as far as from all the entries. Be quite honest, it's a really excellent report. It's visually designed well, good use of colors, but a subtle kind of. I don't like those glaring red, and those kind of things. I like the more subtle color schemes that people use, but good use of color, great insights. Yeah, I don't know, Dustin, what.
Totally agree. I mean, I just think from my standpoint, if you're looking to put something in front of a executive level presentation, I mean, this is right there. This is the kind of stuff you're looking for.
So congratulations, Brian. You can show some emotion. You can.
I've been trying to stay objective in all this.
And congratulations to King. I think she did a fantastic job. And thank you. Now we have 2 more categories. I'm going to go with Franciola first, because I know Franciola for some time. The last 2 previous entries, you can see that she is experimenting. And she experimented with text, very few visuals. There is no limitation. There is no boundaries. It doesn't appear to be bounded. There is no a line breaking this, but it's separated. There is the white ink in there. And there is separation there. And I know she's experimenting. And I know she's almost there in what she tried to do. And I will talk to her about it, and I know where she's coming from. And the reason I go for creative head to of this report for Franciola is because I know she is being creative. She's looking to create her own style. Probably of the last three, this is the closest to be really good. It needs some work. It needs perhaps a couple of more visual, better separation. The in or the white space will be more defined. But I believe on this occasion, Franciola deserves my point and the winning on the creative heft. So congratulations, Franciola. And then we have
Federico, I really one of the things I thought was cool about this, as I looked at this report, it almost looked to me like a journal article. You know, it was almost like an interactive journal article. You could almost picture this in, you know, like a medical journal or something. And as you said, it was something I hadn't seen before. You know, it's like it's having seen probably thousands of challenge entries over, you know, the course of 23 challenges. This was something I hadn't seen before, and I thought it was really interesting. I thought there was cool use of color in this. I agree that it's not standard, but I think there's some interesting takeaways in terms of presenting something like this to a particular audience. And I think
I want you to look at the other two previous reports and see how she progressing, and you can see the coming into this one, and it's still more work to do, but she's defining herself, and that is for me to be creative or try to understand what kind of developer you are when you try to present. So yes, well done.
Yeah.
Then we have a wonder song, Brazilian. Hey, the Brazilians are a fantastic bunch of developers. We have Leonardo Campisti there doing his master classes, and there is quite a lot of school that Leonardo has created. I think Wonderson is one of them, and it's bringing ideas that is coming from Gustav's previous report, the idea with the two lines and the arrows. You can see some similarities. I like the creative side of report development, and I look a lot where it is on the internet. And of late, there is quite a lot of black and white CRM, black and white. Look at Franciola, black and white, very little color. And I think that what it brought my attention. I think she's also changing his style, bringing a different approach. Black and white is not a usual color, and therefore, in my view, deserves the how do you call this one? Out of the box thinker. He is actually trying to create something that is good looking, differently, and provide the information that is necessary. So congratulations, Wanderson Barbosa. What do you think, Brian, or anyone would like to?
You know, one thing, Federico, click on. I thought the selected highlights was really creative. You know, the basically triggering conditional formatting through the menu choice. If you go over to the right hand side. Here. Yeah. I just thought that was something I hadn't seen before, you know, in terms of kind of selectively triggering conditional formatting. I thought it was a pretty neat idea.
I think Wanderson has been participating in a couple of challenges. He is a good developer. In this one, in my view, he actually did really. I love this one.
So, Greg, Dustin, any closing thoughts on kind of overall, kind of what you saw and things you'd want the participants and future participants to take away?
Go ahead, Dustin, if you want to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think overall, I mean, you've got quite a few analysts here that are ready to take on some big challenges and change the world using Power BI. I mean, it was a really good overall, you know, kind of body of entries. And I've learned from looking at some of these, you know, I think the biggest takeaway is that finding that balance between the design and making sure that it's intuitive and it's hard to do. Making it intuitive very quickly is something that's hard to do, but when you do it right, I mean, that's when you really change things, and you really drive impact. But then balancing that with making sure that you're answering the right questions, you're delivering the right insights, and that all the technical details are sound. And so I think the ones that emerged as the best of the best out of all these good submissions were the ones that found that balance between the two. And it's very hard to do, but I would say if you've got a well-designed dashboard, have someone take a look at it and answer, does it really deliver, those technical details and the insights that someone needs to get out of it? And then if you've got something that's really technically amazing, have someone take a look at it and tell you honestly, is it intuitive? And so I think that would be my advice, to the group, is just to think about how to balance those and how to get feedback on each of those sides of the things. When those two things are good, again, that's when you're changing the world with data. So that's my perspective.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and I mean, I can't really add much to what Dustin's saying. I really enjoyed judging these. These were all fantastic reports. Again, like Dustin, I learned like, oh wow, that's a cool feature. I'm going to need to incorporate something like that in my next one. And it's difficult, like Dustin said. You got to balance that technical. You got to balance, is it visually intuitive? Is it visually appealing? And then you want to try out all these tricks, right? Like that custom, formatting there for min max and that conditional formatting, and then, okay, but are you just putting that into your report? Just, is there a purpose for putting it into your report, right? You can't just want to do something just because you want to do it. But it works really well in this case, right? It's a really cool insight. So yeah, really enjoyed judging all of these and we'd love to do it again.
I would like to mention the report from, they are from the Australian government. They are from organization called EDNA, like Enterprise DNA. They are the Emerging Drug Network of Australia. They're professionals working in the field of abuse control or drug addiction control, and they found the perfect opportunity to participate with us and bring this report to our attention. I think it's a perfect example of how professionals in the field can benefit for participating in challenges, just trying new ideas. Because that, at the end of the day, that is what challenge is for me. It's about practicing what you learn, you put into practice. You share it with the community, and you show and clear your portfolio. So thank you, Jono and Courtney, for your participation. We are very, very grateful. Thank you to all the winners and all the participants. Thank you, the judges. You made my day today. I already took 3 photos. You don't know, but I got somebody hidden taking photos. And Brian, thank you for the help. You know that there was a little bit of a problem at the end of the day with who was supposed to help me, and you came on to the help. And congratulations on your win.
Thank you. And I wanted to just give a moment for Dustin to talk about the Data Career Summit. Just because I think it's one of those great things that's happening in the community that he's been spearheading, and in terms of really just helping people get into the field, advance in the field. And so I wanted to just give a moment for him to talk about that.
Thanks. Unexpected and much appreciated. We launched our first Data Career Summit back in August, and it was a success well beyond what Brandy Beals, the co-host, and I would have expected. We had a great turnout, just some amazing feedback and recognition, from attendees on it. And to Brian's point, it really is all about delivering content to help folks break into and move up in the field. Brandy and I developed content really initially to help answer some of the questions that we get so frequently from folks that are looking to get into and move up in the field. And we're going to continue to be very thoughtful in terms of the content we put together that helps address some of those challenges. It's free to register for participants. You can go to datacareersummit.com to register. And our next one is going to be February 24th from 9 to 12 a.m. Central. So hope to see you all there. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, Brian, for the opportunity to do that.
Fabulous. Thanks, Dustin. And Federico, did you want to close by just giving us a quick preview of Challenge 24?
Yes, it's about sport. We are in the doorstep of football, the World Cup coming in. So I have a beautiful data set with all the transfers, summer transfer 22, 23, ready for you. And the idea is for you to prepare a kind of slide deck presentation. It's not a much of the analysis because who is the most expensive player is quite easy to see. But I want you to present that to stakeholders. Listen, that was the movement. It's more a slide deck presentation to a stakeholder. So create something beautiful, bring the most important information. We already have 10 questions prepared for you to answer. And then we want you to fill your best 11.
Awesome. So that's rolling out later this week?
Later that week, Thursday or Friday, and just finishing the finishing touches, and it will be out Thursday or Friday, no delay.
Great. Well, thank you guys both for the judging. Federico, always for leading a fantastic challenge, and for your ambassador team that just did a great job. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody in Challenge 24.